Have you ever tried to read some super dense, complex research and just wished you could watch it as a video instead? Yeah, me too. But how do you actually do that? How do you turn that text into a video without losing a single crucial detail or, twisting the meaning? Well, that's the big challenge we're going to tackle right now. Welcome to the Fidelity Formula. Okay, let's just dive right in. So on the left, you see our starting point, right? It's a complex paragraph from, say, a market analysis report. It's just packed with data, specific terms, the works. And over on the right, that's our destination, a clean, clear video. The real problem is, how do you get from A to B without messing up any of those really precise details? So that's the big question, isn't it? How do you bridge that gap without dropping a single piece of information? Look, this isn't about summarizing or just giving you the highlights. We're talking about a super strict, totally non-interpretive method for creating a perfect informational map. We want to make sure the video is a true, faithful, audio-visual version of that original document. It all really starts with one single mission. I mean, this is the core principle that guides every single step of this whole process. We call it perfect fidelity. So let's look at this definition here. A faithful, informational mapping. This is the key concept. It's got to be complete, meaning nothing gets left out. It has to be sequential, so you're following the original order. It's got to be traceable. Every little piece of the video has to map right back to the source. And this one is critical. It has to be non-interpretive. The goal here is not to analyze anything. It's to produce a direct one-to-one translation from the text to the screen. Okay, so to get to that level of fidelity, you have to work inside a really clear set of boundaries. Think of these as the guardrails, the cardinal rules of what you absolutely positively cannot do. First and foremost, you have to preserve all the information. This one's completely non-negotiable. Every sentence, every single data point, every little qualifier, hey, even a footnote, it all has to make that journey from the text into the final video. Absolutely nothing gets left behind. Second, you have to preserve the exact sequence. Think about it. The original author built their argument in a specific order for a reason. If you start reordering paragraphs because you think something else is more important, you can accidentally just break the whole logical flow. The story has to unfold exactly as it was first written. Third, and this might be the toughest rule of all, do not interpret. You cannot add your own analysis or your own judgment or any outside opinions. There is just no room for saying, well, what this really means is your job is to be a conduit for the information, not a commentator on it. And finally, do not rewrite the meaning. It is so tempting to paraphrase or simplify a really complex sentence, to make it flow better. But that is forbidden. Changing the sentence structure, even a little bit, can subtly change what the author originally meant, and our goal is to preserve that with absolute precision. Now, after hearing all those restrictions, you might be thinking, wow, there's no flexibility at all. But that's not quite right. Within these really strict rules, you do have a specific and pretty limited toolkit of transformations you're allowed to use. And here they are, the only 5 transformations you're allowed to make. First, you script it, turn paragraphs into spoken narration. Second, you block it, organize the text into logical video sections. Third, you format it, convert things like tables so they look good on screen. Fourth, you make it explicit, make sure every single number is clearly stated and shown. And finally, you structure it, create that final blueprint with matching visuals and narration. The key here is that none of these actions change the information itself, they just change its format for video. All right, so now let's see how these rules actually work when you're dealing with the most sensitive parts of a source document. The raw data. We're talking numbers, tables, and charts. When you get to numbers, the rule is absolute exactness. So if the source material says the IEA approved a release of 400 million barrels of emergency oil reserves, the script and the visuals have to say 400 million barrels. Not about 400 million, not hundreds of millions. The precision has to be perfect. This slide really shows the rule for tables. You can't just go in and cherry pick the most interesting data points. No way. The entire table has to be reproduced in full, preserving every single header, every row, and every single value. It has to be a complete and totally faithful representation. And this whole idea of not interpreting things, it extends even to how you title your visuals. So on the left, you see a perfectly fine title, Visualization of IEA Reserve Releases. It's neutral, it's descriptive. But on the right, you see a forbidden title, IEA Panics, Dumps Reserves. See the difference? That title adds judgment and an emotional spin that was not in the source data. That is a clear violation. So, after following all of these rules so carefully, what's the final result? What do you get? Well, it's not the video itself, but it's a structured production blueprint, usually in a format like Markdown, that's all ready for production.
The blueprint itself is super clean and logical. It starts, simply enough, with the video title, which is taken directly and without any changes from the source document.
Right after the title comes a mandatory opening statement, and it has to be this exact sentence, word for word. There's no promotional language, no teasing of the content. It's just a clear, factual statement of purpose that sets the right expectation for the viewer right from the very beginning. The body of the script is then broken up into parts that mirror the original document's structure. And for each part, you have these distinct sections that detail exactly what the viewer will see. That's the visual content and what they're going to hear, the narration, along with any specific data or tables that need to be shown on screen. And just like the beginning, the ending is super strict. There's no final summary, no list of key takeaways, and absolutely no concluding analysis. The video ends when the source material ends. It simply and faithfully concludes. That's it. So, there you have it. That's the Fidelity Formula. It's a really rigorous process for translation, not interpretation. And knowing this formula for creating a perfect informational copy, it kind of brings up a fascinating final question. What does this strict discipline really reveal about the nature of information itself, and that critical line between just presenting facts versus actually interpreting them? It's something to think about.